Good morning. Welcome to episode number 28 in the book of Genesis. Today is about becoming dust is no picnic. So, we've been in this study or appreciation of the curse in Genesis chapter 3. And who sinned against who? Well, Eve, we find that she transgressed against Adam and failed him as a helper and wife. And she also primarily failed against God. Similarly, Adam failed against Eve and listened to her and didn't protect her and didn't discern and didn't act sacrificially towards her. And then he also accuses God and transgresses against God himself. He questions the goodness and the character of God. So both of them are sort of doubly at fault. So here's the curse that happens to Adam. We talked about the one that happens to Eve, and here's the one that happens to Adam. This is in Genesis chapter 3 and verse 17. And to Adam he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife, and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, you shall not eat of it. So Adam breaks that command. Here's the curse. Cursed is the ground because of you. In pain you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for you, and you shall eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your face you shall eat bread, until you return to the ground. So now he's going to introduce death. Death did not exist in the garden until this moment. For out of it you were taken, for you are dust, and to dust you shall return. So let's start in verse 17. Part of Adam's curse is the curse of the ground. So Eve's curse is the painful toil in bringing forth life, childbirth. Adam's curse is the painful toil in scratching out a living. So neither of these things is a curse in and of themselves. So childbearing is not a curse. Let me say that again. Childbearing is not a curse, but now there's a layer of pain onto it. Just similarly, marriage is not a curse, but also the part of the curse on Eve's side is now marriage is going to be a place of some particular difficulty. Order is not a curse. Leadership and followership is not a curse. But now this order has a wrench thrown into it. Your desire will be for your husband and his role and his job, and he will rule over you. And submission is not a curse. But now we find that the ground is cursed, but work is not cursed. Work was a blessing that was there before the curse. Again, there's a layer of divine difficulty upon which what was previously just kind of a blessing. So in the produce that you get stuff you didn't want. So you planted apples and you got apples. That's the good news. The bad news is you had to do it with sweat, and you get thorns and thistles in the end. So they sinned by eating, and now they're going to suffer in order to eat. The work part of it is going to be a difficulty. So again, I want to emphasize what is not a curse. Marriage is not a curse. Leadership is not a curse. Submission is not a curse. The earth is not a curse. Childbearing is not a curse. Again, who's to blame? It's our fault. It's Adam's fault. It's Eve's fault. Both have equal blame. And all these areas where God first said, I want you to have dominion and rule over these things. And I want it to go this way. Now each one of them has a layer of divine difficulty in their successful completion. So dominion now has divine difficulty. You can write that down. But wait, now there's more. Now at the end of this, there's decay and death. So you're still eternal. People are still eternal. Everybody you know is going to live forever. However, now your eternality is going to be interrupted by death. So you're returning to dust. You will have for most people, you will have the aging process. You will lose function, and then you will lose the earthly breath of life, at least here. And then we go someplace else, which we talked extensively about in our last podcast, which was in the book of Revelation. So everybody goes to heaven. Everybody is judged. Everybody gets a new heavenly body, and then you get a new address. And the question is, where do you reside? Do you reside with the Lord in His heavenly kingdom or not? So again, back to this death thing. So your eternality is going to be interrupted by death. You are returning to dust. So you have the aging process, and you're going to lose function. Most people lose it kind of gradually, and then eventually lose the breath of life, at least here. And for most people, the aging process is the most difficult thing they have ever done. So to become dust is no picnic. And for many, getting old is the hardest thing that they've ever done. So write this down. Becoming dust is no picnic. And the returning to dust is often the hard part, the decline. So remember, there was no death in the garden until now. You were made to be eternal. And in a sense, you are eternal. But now there's this waypoint, and the waypoint is in the dust. There's aging, there's decay, there's entropy. There's senescence is the scientific word for it. That is the deterioration and the slowing and the failure and the function. And that happens in every cell. So you have more than 1 trillion cells in your body. And this process, the curse, if you will, is in every single cell of your body. Every cell is subject to the curse, which is kind of mind-blowing. All right, my mother had a great line. I got to tell you this. So she and my father were enjoying the aging process, enduring the aging process. And this is when they were past 80 and one couldn't see and the other one couldn't walk and they were just falling apart. And my mother said it to my father. She said, I think if we took up all the good parts of you and combined them with all the good parts of me, she said, I don't think we would add up to one whole person. So when you reach a stage like that and the wheels fall off the physical bus, if you will, that returning to dust is kind of a mercy. And imagine for a second, in a world where we would continue to decay further and further and further, mentally and physically and everything, but you would never die. You just get more suffering and more suffering. You've been to funerals where the funeral is a mercy. So in that context, death is a mercy. It is a blessing. So let's remember what's not a curse. Marriage isn't a curse. Leadership is not a curse. Submission is not a curse. The earth is not cursed. Childbearing, none of these things. But now each one has a layer of ordained divine difficulty to their successful implementation. So becoming dust is no picnic, and the process of returning to dust is often the hard part. Returning to dust is a mercy. Why? Because though we return to dust, He doesn't leave us there. We get a new heavenly body and for believers, a new address with God. Thanks for listening.